does everybody have spirit guides?
In the way that you are thinking about it, the short answer to that question is yes. It is extremely hard for human beings who are in third dimensional reality to understand what it is actually like where we come from, or as you might say, on the other side. And we are often limited by how we describe that to you that will make sense. You are used to being separated on earth, and your ego gives you an ongoing sense of that separation. You think of yourselves as individuals, but in the dimension that we come from, and where you would consider your heaven to be, where you go when you have left this lifetime, and there are many places that you can go when you leave this lifetime, and that is dependent on the soul's choice, or the choice of your higher self. But there, in all of those dimensions and all of those places where you would transition to, we are one. So while you maintain some of your individuality, you are like drops in an ocean. There is multidimensional consciousness. So you have an individuated form, if you like, but you are always aware that you are part of a collective. And so when an aspect of your essence is incarnated on earth, there are other aspects of your essence that are not. And there will always be a part of you on the other side, as you might like to see it. And that part of you on the other side is a collective, so that you have access to infinite guidance, and there is always someone around you, you might say. It's hard to explain it in a way that's easy for you to understand. Now, in exactly the same way that Reea is now connecting with us, who we have called the goddess Mart for her, when you wish to connect to your own higher guidance, when any individual wishes to connect to their guides, then they will connect to that which is a vibrational match with their own frequency. If their vibration or their frequency doesn't change very much over the course of a lifetime, it may be a similar energy that they would acknowledge as their guide or guides. If someone undergoes a lot of transformation in a lifetime, then they may change guides. That's the easiest way to describe it to you, because one guide may be with them for a certain period of their life, say their youth up until their 20s or 30s, and then, as often happens, people go through transformational periods where their frequency vibration changes, and that guide may leave, or those guides may leave, and other guidance comes in for them. But it's all got to do with vibrational frequency. So you could designate those guides a name, and we in fact do not have names, but we give you names because we know that it helps you. It's not so much a name from our perspective, but a tone, a vibrational frequency of tone, because sound is something that is very important across the whole universe. Does that make sense?
It does, thank you.
So a name that we would give you, or that you would access yourself, you're accessing the tone of the vibrational frequency of that guide and assigning a name to that. So in actual fact, whatever name you give your guides, then they won't mind. You could call them anything and they would understand and acknowledge. And sometimes some teachers will bring through essence names and be given, or the name of your guides is sometimes given. And then you may speak to a different teacher and be given another name, a different name. But that again simply acknowledges the change in vibrational frequency that happens to all of us all the time. The moment you begin to expand, the new learning, the new understanding, the new experience, the transcendence of a limitation changes your frequency, and therefore it could change your soul name or the guides that you have around you.
Thank you. So following up, I'll just read you the next two questions that I have because I think we may have already covered them. And that was, how do people get spirit guides? Like, are they allocated? Are they assigned? And if so, by who?
That is a good question. Understand that we could describe it to you in this way. You have an oversoul and then you have a soul. There are different levels of you as a multidimensional being. They radiate to different frequencies, and the highest desire of that frequency is to reach or become or know source. Sorry, can you ask me that question again?
How do people get spirit guides? Are they allocated? Are they assigned? And if so, by who? So how do we get spirit guides? Who says that we have these spirit guides? Like,
it is you, but there are many aspects of you. You are a multi-dimensional being, so there are different levels of you, if you like to see it that way. Your guides may be the energies of other essences that you have a relationship with and have known. So sometimes your guide could be someone, an essence that has been someone that you have known from a past life. It could be the essence of a being that you have known or communicated with or had a relationship with in other realms of consciousness other than Earth. So there are many answers to that question, but in essence, it is you that chooses your guide, because it's exactly like having a relationship in third dimension. It is an energy exchange. So you have to agree to it. You can't have a relationship in third dimensional reality unless you have acquiesced to that relationship in some way. And that may just be by continuing to put your energy in the vicinity of another person. Do you understand?
yes.
So it's the same thing on the other side, or in the higher dimensions of consciousness, you acquiesce. So an offering could be made, and then you would, in a very different way. I'm trying to simplify this so that you would understand, but again, it's very difficult. An offering would be made of energy, and you would accept that offering or not.
I understand. So now that I've reading through these questions, my questions, for me, my understanding has just come through that these are 3D questions, and they're questions asked coming from a place of separation. So my understanding is what you're saying is, yes, we all have spirit guides, but we're all connected on different frequencies. So we would receive what is the frequency we're putting out. So energy is always in flux. So that's how they can change over time.
Yes, and like attracts like.
Mm-hmm.
So frequencies find their way to each other in the same way that human beings find their way to each other in third dimension. Frequencies of essences find their way to each other, because there could be a likeness. There could be the equivalent of a project they'd like to explore, an experience they would like to have, an intention, and those things can bring essences together. So when you have a high vibrational frequency teacher, such as that are collective, such as some of the ones you may know, for instance, Abraham, that being that the essence that you know as Abraham, that is a collective consciousness, that is many beings coming together for the intention of teaching because they have a similar desire. Does that make sense?
Yes. So some people know their spirit guides' names, and they know when their spirit guides come in and when they go, and when they receive a new spirit guide, and they know their name, and they seem to have, and their attributes, and they seem to have a very personal relationship with their spirit guides when they know their name. So what makes these people able to do this?
That is an exercise of their intuition and psychic gifts.
Okay.
So some people are more attuned to subjective information coming in from other realms, other dimensions. And that is something that many of you on the planet are expanding at this time. You yourself have been working on your own gifts in that direction. So, for instance, you already know that every human being has different gifts and different specialities. Some of you play the piano, some of you paint, some of you have psychic gifts, and some of you have the potential to tune into infinite wisdom, the matrix, and absorb different information. It's no different than you tuning into the Akashic records, because that's where the information is kept on everyone and every being. And so you could imagine yourself tuning into your own Akashic record and getting that information. The channel Reea has for many years been able to tune into her information in her records of her past lives, and indeed was doing that all the way back to a very young age when she didn't realize what she was doing, or that she actually could do that. And having trained in past life regression and hypnotherapy, she then became consciously aware of what she was doing and had that information confirmed to her. So this is something you could do. You have the ability already in your clairaudience to be able to tune in to the name of your guide. All you need to do is set forth the intention to receive a name. Remember, it's not the name, it's a name that resonates with you and which you feel comfortable, because your guide doesn't really care. Your guides don't really care what you call them. They totally understand what it's like from your perspective. So you could sit down in meditation and go quiet and ask that a name be given and wait till that name comes. Now, you have a clairaudient ability, so you may hear that name, but Reea is not clairaudient in that sense that you are, that she hears a voice that is not her own, but she is still able to get names, numbers, dates, lots of specific information that we feed through to her. And you could do that too.
Okay. Thank you. Then our next question that I have is, how important is it that we work with our ancestors?
Define what you mean by ancestors.
For me, ancestors are not just my lineage, as in my great grandparents and things like that, but I guess from different of our past selves and things like that. So, those people that we are most connected with and have had, many lives together that may not, have walked into this incarnation with us yet. So
we would not say that it was necessary. It's simply a choice. You could, if you wished, tune into that information. Some people are interested in the history of their families, and they feel passionately interested and curious about that, and they will spend time on ancestry.com finding their own family tree, and someone else may not be remotely interested in where their family has come from. It's all just a choice. It's the same thing with your past lives. Some people on the planet are very interested in understanding all of their past lives and connecting with as many of those other focuses, as we would call them, for indeed they are not in the past at all. They could be past or future or present, but they are interested in tuning into those other focuses of awareness, and their brother may not be. So sometimes there is interesting information to be gathered. If you have a physical illness or an emotional psychological illness or blockage or limitation, sometimes the cause of that may be something that you have brought into this lifetime from another focus of awareness. And therefore, it may be in your best interest to find out about that for the purpose of healing.
Okay. So
likewise with your genealogical family. There may be something in your family line that is carried on from one generation to the next for which you feel a victim, and going back and looking at that and understanding the effect that it has on you is sometimes a good thing.
Okay. So if I guess in the quantum field or the other side, so time is happening all at once.
There is no time.
So if we work, I guess, on healing that past trauma of our ancestors, does that then resonate that we also pass that down and heal future generations as well?
Absolutely. Every time you go back to a past life or even to your childhood and you heal something, you have healed all of the yous across all of your lifetimes from that particular thing, should it be affecting those other focuses of your awareness. If you go back on your genealogical line and assist your grandmother, great-grandmother, great-great-great-great-grandmother to heal some effect from which you also, with which you also resonate, then yes, you will heal future generations. Because biologically, things are passed down through your DNA from one generation to the next, some things.
Thank you. So what is the most important thing that we can do to raise the vibration of the planet?
Raise your own vibration. It always comes back to the self. If you allow yourself to be in love with yourself and to be the best version of yourself you could be, to reach your highest potential, to clear your frequency, to heal yourself, to raise your own vibration, that will have an effect on all of the beings around you, all of the beings in which you come in contact, and it ripples out. So we would say that the most important thing to do is to raise your own vibration and then like a lighthouse. Allow that light, that frequency to emanate from you. It will affect everyone else. Others will be raised by it. And the more people who do that, the more you will reach a peak on the planet, the 100th monkey syndrome, where much will be transformed much more easily.
Okay. What is the best way to manifest or co-create our reality?
That is an interesting question. From our perspective, it's not so much the best way. There is only one way, and that is that you use your energy, your emotions, your frequency, your thoughts, your words to manifest and create your reality. So that it is the setting forth of a desire, which your life will show you. Life brings many desires in third dimensional reality. You hold a desire, you trust yourself, you have faith, you expect the manifestation of that desire or something better, because from your perspective, it is frequent that you cannot always see what is in your highest good or have a clear path forward in that respect. So you hold a desire, you have faith, you expect it, you understand that you are not just creating from your third dimensional ego personality construct, you are creating from your multi-dimensional selves. And sometimes what the ego wants and what your greater self, higher self wants is not the same thing. If you decided that you wanted to be very wealthy and that was not in line with what your higher self desired for you in this lifetime, then it's not going to happen. So while you have free will and you have the ability to create, you are creating from your multi-dimensional perspective, not just the perspective of your ego personality construct.
Okay. Okay. So we have, in this third dimensional world, we call it God, Goddess, Universe, the Source, all different names for what is it. So what is it that is actually the guiding force for humanity?
It is far greater than you or I could ever explain. It is very, very difficult to put into words because even we have not glimpsed what we might call prime creator, God, Goddess, all that is. We are aspiring all the time to raise our frequency to be that which prime creator is, but we are not there yet either. So all of those words that you use to describe that same thing, there is always an element of the unknown. It is faith. It is understanding the nuances of the way God, Goddess, all that is presents itself in everything. We like to call it source, the source of all being, the ground of all beingness. But it is so vast that it is very difficult to comprehend.
So even as a being of your level of learning, it is still something that is difficult to grasp, comprehend in the largeness of it?
Yes,
Or the
because it is
complexity?
constantly something that we aspire to. If you consider that the universe, the multiverse, is always expanding, always growing, everything is growing. Science knows that the universe is constantly expanding. Then that which we would call God, Goddess, all that is also constantly expanding. And just as our minds or our consciousness may believe that we are beginning to understand what that is, it grows, it expands, it changes. It's constantly fulfilling a higher and higher potential, which is why it is so very difficult for us to put into words what God, Goddess actually is.
Okay. So the other question I have, I guess, is our purpose in life. So my understanding is we all signed up to come here for further learning and lessons for ourselves. But how is it as individuals that can we work towards finding what our purpose is?
This question of life purpose is one that is asked of us frequently. Human beings like to complicate everything, when in fact we would say that it is very, very simple. You are an infinite, unique, individualized aspect of God consciousness. And without you, the earth would not be the same. The universe would not be the same. No one else can play your role, can take your part, can be the you that is you. So you are uniquely contributing to the all that is simply by being here. That is one purpose. You may also see that you are here to learn and grow and expand. But as we have just said, the universe, the blueprint of the universe is constant expansion. So you can't stop that. That happens naturally. That is always going to be occurring in your third dimensional life, because you are an aspect of God consciousness which is constantly expanding. And then humans like to have some work to do that makes you feel that you are contributing to the expansion of consciousness to your brothers and sisters on the planet. This is the part that most people confuse. This is the part that most people overlook in its simplicity. As far as your higher self is concerned, if you go and do anything where you are being of service to your brothers and sisters on the planet, and by anything I mean working in a shop, being a garbage collector, being a school teacher, being a hairdresser, any job that you might do, you are being of service to your brothers and sisters on the planet. Because where would you be if you couldn't go to the hairdresser and have your hair done? It wouldn't feel as good, right? It's what you're used to. So every job that someone does is being of service. They may not see it that way, and because they don't see it that way, they lose the intentionality that they might get by purposely seeing that as a contribution of being of service to the planet. So sometimes it is just a matter of changing perspective. Every job is being of service. Now, if you don't have a job, you are a mother, a father, a brother, a sister, an aunt, an uncle, a neighbor. From the perspective of your higher self, your life is worthy and worthwhile and successful if you were to help one individual. You don't have to be of service to millions and be famous and be all over social media and YouTube or writing books in order to be of service. You can be of service to a small number of people, and your higher self is just as happy with you and sees your life as profound and significant and worthy.
Thank you.